Mark Zhang is the Surgeon General for the United States. He and his research team have discovered new abilities of the human ear. Experiments with high school students have shown new tolerance levels for extremely high frequency sounds.
When I was little, I noticed that my brother was able to listen to really high-pitched sounds, seemingly without a problem, and I was curious as to how he was able to do this. So now, after all these years, we're finally making new discoveries.
His new modern experimentation technique requires students to listen to music for 3 minutes at a time. After an experiment with 40 subjects, 35 subjects were able to tolerate the music with extremely high frequency sounds.
What's happening is the human range of pitch is increasing. A normal human hears anywhere between 16 and 20,000 hertz, but now they're hearing anywhere from 5 to 30,000 hertz. This is caused by higher sensitivity of the cochlear duct. In other words, the mechanoreceptors, or little hair cells, are moving at a faster rate.
So what exactly is the cochlear duct in relation to the inner ear?
Well, you see, it's the only part of the inner ear that is involved in actual hearing, and it's located in what's called the membraneous labyrinth, which is part of the inner ear itself.
So are you seeing any correlation to loudness?
No, the loudness is at a standard of 60 decibels, but we don't want to actually inflict pain on our subjects, so we leave it at that level.
Why not?
While dangerously high decibel levels can cause irreversible damage to parts of the ear, such as the malleus, incus, and stapes, and we don't want to violate any federal regulations with that.
So, Dr. Zhang, we can now conclude that hearing is a supersense. How has your research since your studies at Harvard evolved?
Well, I started out researching on lab rats and new forms of stem cell research that allows us to build anatomical structures such as the pinna for human use. And then I went on to research on humans, and our research on the inner ear is bringing new discoveries.
How exactly will your research change for the future?
Now that we've confirmed that hearing is indeed a supersense, we'll try to push it to new limits in our discovery. And our next goal is to determine the intricacies of proprioceptors and how they maintain equilibrium.
Surprisingly, Dr. Zhang's research on proprioceptors in the ear was a success. People with more proprioceptors were able to maintain extreme balance after spinning around vigorously.
Hi, Kenzie. Thank you for joining us. When did you first suspect that you had this spectacular sense of taste?
Well, it was just after I'd gotten back home from the gym and I reached for my regular glass of chocolate milk. However, this time it tasted super weird. It was way sweeter than usual.
Thank you for sharing. That's very interesting. What made you think that you had an altered sense of taste?
Well, I first did some online research and then I decided to talk to my doctor. And he said that I had this sensitivity to taste due to chemoreceptors, which affect certain chemicals in food and drinks. I was told that there are many flavors that are detected by the taste receptors. Sweet being the one that affected me the most in this situation. I then realized it was because I had lost key electrolytes during exercise, which affected the sugars and some amino acids that I had lost.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you'd like us to know about some incredible sense?
Sure thing. Is there anything you'd like to know in particular?
Really anything that you feel the public needs to be made aware of.
Okay, well, everyone's sense of taste is going to be a little bit different, as there's anywhere between 4,000 and 10,000 taste buds. And they're mostly found on your tongue, but you can also find them in your throat and on your cheeks. They're replaced every 7 to 10 days, and you use about half of them once you're 20.
All right, thanks for sharing with us, Kenzie. We'll see you later.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Goodbye.
On this special of 60 Minutes, we're here with optometrist Natalie Tanchin to discuss the trending topic of supersight. Welcome, Natalie. To begin, why don't you tell us a bit about what makes the eye so great?
Hi Kate, thanks for having me. Well, many argue that the eye is the most important sense organ. The eye has three main layers known as the sclera, the choroid, and the retina. The way we are able to process the image is based on the light rays that enter the cornea and are processed in the pupil.
Wow, very interesting. Recently, a crazy idea has been released that introduces the idea of supersight. This can't be possible, can it? How does supersight compare to the sight of the average human being, and what parts of the eye make it incredible?
In the third layer of the eye, the retina, you will find the visual receptors known as rods and cones. In a typical human eye, there are 10,000 cones, which are the densest at the fovea. In the rear of the eye, the rods are most dense at the periphery. The cones are active at photopic vision and are capable for color vision. The rods, however, are responsible for scotopic vision. In the incredible human eye, there are higher amounts of rods and cones, resulting in tetrachromacy and night vision.
So, what exactly is the iris, and what about it contributes to making the eye so amazing?
Well, considering that the iris is a smooth muscle, it contains the pupil, which is the opening in the iris. The function of the pupil is to constrict and dilate according to the amount of light entering the eye. It's really interesting because it processes the images that we're seeing while acting like the f-stop on the camera.
Wow, that's great. Thank you for joining us today and teaching us about the eye and its extraordinary abilities.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just get right down to it. What exactly is smell?
Well, smell is incredible. It detects airborne chemicals that enter the nasal cavities.
How exactly do we smell?
Smell is based off the chemoreceptors in the roof and walls of the nasal passages.
What exactly are these receptors?
Receptors are free nerve endings or dendrites of bipolar neurons. There are about 10 to 20 million olfactory neurons in the olfactory mucosa.
Wow, okay, tell me more about these olfactory neurons.
Well, olfactory neurons are the only neurons in the body that are directly exposed to the external environment.
Are these neurons ever destroyed or lost?
Well, they have a lifespan of about 60 days, but overall we lose 1% a year, which is why we lose our sense of smell as we get older.
I'd like to thank Dr. Noble for being here today and answering a few of my questions. To follow up on the topic mentioned previously with Dr. Noble, it appears we lose 1% of our smell every year. This must mean it's not very incredible?
Though our smell receptors are very sensitive, they adapt quickly. We can actually sense over 10,000 different chemicals.
So, could this be an explanation for how someone can have the ability to have super smell?
Yes, someone could definitely have super smell if they used all 10,000 receptors.
What else could allow a person to have super smelling abilities?
Some people are able to detect one molecule of a dangerous chemical. These people would definitely have a super smelling ability.
Well, I think it's safe to say we've learned a lot from these doctors today. Thank you for being here.